and like we are trying to make it between 8:45 and 9. Okay, just to not be like a strict school where they start at a minute, but let's try not to push it very much. Okay, because like everyone is waiting for a single student now, and this is not nice. Otherwise, I can just lock the meeting, and you can no longer join, which would may or it may seem rude, but sorry, but it will be the last solution we can do. Okay, so today we are starting with a new course, and today we will also start with creating websites actually for the first time. Okay, so let's try to create the project first, and then we will talk about it. Okay, so from create new project. Okay, of from the types of projects, just select web. And what was the name here? And select ASP.NET Web Application.NET Framework. Okay, we are still working with .NET. We are not using .NET Core. So let's use this one. Okay, so give it a name. Yeah, any name you want for now, like my first MVC application. Okay, okay. Now, after you click next or create, it won't be created. It will actually ask you what type of website. So websites themselves, okay, they have types in ASP.NET. So you can create an empty one, okay, doesn't have any content, okay. You can create web forms. So we won't study web forms because this is the really old version of ASP MVC, okay. It's um, like it's strongly recommended that if you are starting a new application, don't use web forms, okay? Using MVC is much better. Of course, unless you already have a web forms application, then uh, the only way is to continue with it if you don't want to rewrite the whole thing. Web API, we will study this in a later class. Okay, I think you studied APIs before. You created an API in front end. So you will do this as well here. The last one, single page application. This is a bit of a more modern thing where everything is like HTML5 and JavaScript driven. Okay. It's more front end focused, but of course there's a back end, there's everything. But we won't like be studying this one in our program. We will focus on the MVC one. Okay. Single page application are still rare somehow because they cost more to develop. They are harder to develop. And the whole website will look like a program for you. So when you open a website, if it's a single page application, you will feel like you are in your desktop or on your desktop. Like every time you click, you won't feel that the page is reloading. And like if you saw Facebook now or even Twitter, lots of stuff that you do, they will happen asynchronously, and you will feel that Facebook is somehow somehow happening at your side. While of course it's communicating with a server, and it's not fully single page application, but you feel that they are getting like that more and more. Like more and more, it's getting like I am working on the website as if it was somehow like a desktop application. But anyways, It's mostly front end focused, so we won't go in here. We will focus on the MVC one. Okay, so if you are reading what's in here, it will tell you that you will be creating a website using model view controller architecture. Okay, and that's what we will be focusing on. Other things that are also important. First, we need no authentication. So for the first few classes, we won't be doing any authentication. Authentication means log in and log out, sign up and sign out. Okay, when you have an account, that's what I mean. And you can use HTTPS with it. Okay, that's fine, but you will get a warning. But it's fine, okay, because we trust our website. So it's fine if you are using a fake certificate here. And if it's asking for, do you want to create a test application, a test project? For now, just say no. Okay. Docker support, that's a bit of like something like not in our focus now. But Docker is a system where it's somehow like a mini operating system. So, for example, imagine you want to install a program, okay, inside your operating system, but it needs its own system. I really don't know how to explain it. Like it's a bit of a complicated thing, but if you ever work with virtual machines and if you needed a system inside the system, then Docker is somehow of a mini system that only has the thing that you want for that program. You can forget about it, but I highly recommend that you study Dockers. Okay, and actually we are thinking of introducing Dockers inside our program, but for now there is no plan yet. But many students that we sent to internships, they said we had to work with Dockers and learn them. So if you can just take a quick look, just try a few examples, see what is the story of Dockers, how they are installed, how they work. It will help you very much if you had to work with it in the future. Okay. Okay, let's create it now. Okay, so that's our website. Okay, those are the files of our website. Of course, notice how it's way more than our console application. So in our console application, all what we had is the program.cs and the config file, right? But here we have lots of folders, lots of things. Of course, this page is just to learn ASP MVC, so it's like a welcome page. It's not part of your solution, so you can just close. Okay, but it's good if you want to learn, if you want to see what Microsoft has, if you want to learn how to publish on Azure. Okay, so Azure is a cloud service. It has code and version control like GitHub. Okay, so you can host your code on Azure. Okay, and you can host your website on Azure. Okay, speaking about that, so we need to talk a little about websites in general. So when you build a website, eventually you are writing code. Okay, so you are writing code, you are writing the front end, you are writing the back end. Okay, and suppose that you are done now, you are finished. Okay, you've built everything. Okay, so how to um, give it to users? How to let people browse this website? So if you remember with console application, we said send them the exe. right? Like in console application, we had that exe with maybe the config file. So if you want to give it to a friend or to a customer, just give them the exe and with, of course, any other DLLs you have, and give them that. Okay. So what about websites? So suppose that I finished this website. How do I give it to a customer or to like people to browse it? Do I give them the files? Of course, like I'm supposing that the customer is not interested in the code. The customer just want to see the like the result. So what should I do here? Okay. So when it comes to websites, here we are talking about the concept of hosting. So those are the files, okay, like everything from here to here. Okay, those are the files of my website. So what I do is I go and host them on a server. So imagine we are talking about, okay, like hosting company, or let's say web hosting, so we don't get anything. So you will notice that there are like endless and countless hosting companies around the world, and there are like new companies every day. But a very famous one, for example, that I used before called HostGator. So let's go to HostGator, for example. So you will notice that um, it's a company that tells you I can host your program. Okay, what does that mean? That means those guys, they have a server. Okay, they have lots of computers which are not intended for personal use. So that's why we call them servers. But eventually, it's a computer with a CPU and a RAM and like just like everything you have. Okay, but they are much more powerful. Okay, they are like they even look different. I'm not sure if you even saw a server, but most of them they don't look like regular computers. They look like big rectangle boxes. So what you will do is you will put your files, all of your files, on the server or in one of the hosting companies, and then this, of course, this server will be connected to the internet. So this server will be online, okay, and people will be able to access your website, okay, that is hosted on this online server, okay. Now, of course, this is not free. So if you are just trying there, if you just are just making like a student thing, then you don't want to pay anything. Now, of course, if it's commercial, you need to find a commercial service. But for example, I think GitHub can offer you some free hosting options for small websites. Microsoft Azure also can host your program for free if it's small and if you don't have lots of visitors. Once you have lots of visitors, that means you are making money, and that's when they want their share too. That's when you need to pay. But hosting in general is cheap. Like, okay, but that's supposing that you only have few thousand visitors a month. Now, if you have millions of visitors, the hosting company will tell you, "Oh, sorry, but you have millions of visitors. Millions of people are using our servers. Millions of people are using our bandwidth because our servers are connected to the internet. So now you need to pay more." So the amount you pay for a hosting company mostly depends on how many people are visiting your website. Okay? So it's very important to understand the concept of hosting, although like we may or we may not do any hosting in the whole program. But we need to do all those like uh, I don't know, like just to be introduced to those main concepts. Because if you ever worked in any company and someone mentioned hosting in front of you, and you don't really know hosting, that will reflect extremely bad on you. This is like ABC of web development. Okay, like if you don't know about hosting, that means like you really don't know anything. Okay, so you will tell me, okay, how would I test my website then? So is it like every time I write a single line of code, I will go to a hosting company, or I will go to GitHub? Or okay, that's when we say you can, for testing, you can host it locally. So there is a server that is installed locally. I think it's installed when you install Windows or maybe Visual Studio. I don't really remember where it comes. Okay, but there is a server that it's hosted locally, and it's very good for testing purposes and for like those simple usages. So when you start, let's start our program here. Okay, do you remember this green button in the console applications? Okay, now it's telling you, okay, start it in Firefox, or you can use Chrome, for example, and or like choose any other um, web browser. But notice before it's telling you IIS Express. So IIS is the server that is used for hosting in big companies. Okay. IIS Express is the lightweight version that is installed usually locally for testing purposes. Okay. So we have IIS and we have IIS Express. IIS Express is for you, okay, as a developer, because you need something quick, something fast. Okay. So IIS is the program that will host your website so you can browse it. Okay. Now, when you go to HostGator, for example, this company, those they will give you access to a server, to a strong computer. Okay. And they have a strong IIS there, the main version of IIS. And then they will tell you, okay, host it here. And then you can go and enter the URL of your website and you can access it. But for our testing purposes, I don't need the full version of IIS because it's full of features, full of stuff. I only need the lightweight version, which called IIS Express. Okay, so IIS Express is a program that you have, is used for hosting locally, and it's lightweight. Okay, let's try to start. So once you start, okay, lots of things will happen, but you won't notice most of them. Okay, so the main thing will happen is Visual Studio will start that IIS Express for you. It will take all the files and host them right away, and it will take you to the URL to browse. So, URLs are something like google.com, yahoo.com, okay? But locally, they are called localhost. So, localhost is the address of your computer, okay? So, your computer, if you want the address of your address here now without going to the internet, okay? It's called localhost, okay? the every computer now on the internet has an IP address, right? Internet protocol address. Even websites, they have IP addresses. So what is the IP address of localhost? So the IP address of localhost is 127.0.0.1. This is something you need to memorize actually, because it's extremely important. So if you said 127.0.0.1, or if you said localhost, those two are identical. But one is using a name, one is using an IP number. Okay. But for example, if you went to Google, Google will be, now you can access Google either by saying google.com, or by saying the IP of Google, which will be, I don't memorize it, which will be 296, sorry, 144, 113, 123, 124. That's, for example, the IP of Google. So you can use this one, or you can use the name of the website. Okay. But of course, memorizing a number is much harder. That's why everyone will use just the name. Okay. And there is a DNS that will do the conversion. Anyways, what we care about now is that our local address is called localhost. Okay. And it's equal to 127.0.0.1. Okay. That's why you will see people having shirt, like wearing shirts with there's no place like so, for example, like this one. If you ever saw someone wearing this thing, okay, so only programmers will understand what this guy is talking about. Of course, I won't pay $22 for a shirt like this. It looks horrible, but anyway, what does that mean? Like he's saying there's no place like home, okay, but in programming concepts, okay. So your home address as a computer, okay, is 127.0.0.1 or localhost. This is the port number. So the port number is, okay, maybe we can have one day when we explain networking a little bit, but in your computer, you have an address and you have so many ports. So your IIS is using this port. Okay. We will talk in more detail, hopefully. Okay. But it's not part of our program. If you are interested, just search IP addresses and port numbers. What is the range of port numbers, for example? Yeah, well, this is, um, yeah. For example, if you have a local network, so you have like um, a range dedicated for local networks. So imagine you are doing a network with your brother, okay? Your brother has a laptop, okay, and your sister has a laptop, and you want to make a network. So maybe you can play together like some game together on LAN network, not on the internet, okay? So this is the range of like the most famous range of local networks, okay? Or for example, your router. So your router and your laptop and your phone, there's a local network between them, okay? So they mostly use 192, 168, and anything else. Okay, so this is the range of local networks. You can't use those two numbers and other local network ranges to as the IP of a public website. Okay, so once you see those, you know this is a local network. Okay, in a closed place. Okay, like a company or like a house or anything. Okay, those can't be the address of like an online website or online computer.
Hey, Mohammed.
Yeah, router settings, because like there's a
Yeah.
local network between you and your router.
Okay,
Yep.
that's what I was going to ask if it was a locally hosted IP or if it was like a network address.
Yeah, but it's a network. Yeah, it's like a LAN network or a local network between you and few computers and a router or a switch or those.
And
Okay.
that's like a default one, ain't that 192 address?
Yeah. Well, this is like, yeah, this is a default and it's reserved for those. There are other forms of it. There are the networks that start with 10 as well,
Thanks.
but this is the most famous one. At least for me, like I see it everywhere. But there are other numbers that also reserved for local networks. Yeah, well, those are like extremely basic stuff. I'm not really a networking expert, but like when you work with like in IT in general, those are like APC stuff. Like everybody knows those. Okay, so I'm really not sure if we should introduce some kind of networking, but this is not even basic networking. It is less than the basic stuff. Okay, so what we care about is the address of our website. So I made a website, which is this. Okay, this is the website. Okay, so eventually when I want to browse it, I need an address. So Visual Studio shows this address for me. Now, when I upload it to HostGator or online to any company, there will be another address for sure. So when it's online and I am accessing it online, for sure it won't be something like localhost something. Okay, it will be like Microsoft.azure and then slash your website, for example. Okay, they will give you a real domain name. Okay, unless you want your own dedicated name, that's when you want to go and reserve your name and pay for it. There are places where you can go and reserve a name. The most famous website I know is name.com. So here where you can reserve your website name. Okay, so for example, if you want to buy google.com, it will tell you that this one is reserved. You can't buy this one. Yeah, so it will tell you google.com is taken. Obviously, someone already took it. But if it will suggest like similar stuff for you. Like, for example, if I said sulay.com. Oh, it's a premium. Yeah, so you will see that a lot of people, all what they do in life is to go and buy domains, okay, and then sell them because they know, for example, like once we started hearing about COVID-19, someone went and reserved it. Then when they want to make the real COVID-19, they have to come and buy it from this guy. Okay, so they are telling you that covid19.com is taken, but you can take this one, c-covid-19.host. Of course, .com is better for many reasons that we won't talk about now, but like this is still a website that you can have. Okay. What about this? Nope. So even this one is taken. See if like, oh, so the World Health Organization, I think, took it. Yeah, so if it happened that you are the one who reserved, and it's like most of the time is $10 to reserve it, and then the World Health Organization, they need it, they may pay thousands for you just to take the name from, because it's yours. Okay, you will see some people coming and reserving names for like celebrities' names. They expect stuff. Okay, and it will be a problem if someone really needs the name and someone already took it. Okay, anyways, you need to reserve the name and you need to reserve the host if you want a full working website. Okay. So everything is happening here. Yeah, by the way, this whole yellow thing is warning you that, okay, you are entering an HTTPS website, a secure website, okay? But the certificate, okay, for this website is not valid. Of course, it's not valid because it's locally signed. We are using it for testing, but Firefox is just warning you that be careful that this website is saying that it's using HTTPS, but it's not really secure because we don't really want to talk about certifications, but if you really want a real HTTPS website, you need to like sign your certificate with a trusted um, what they call third party certification signature thing, okay, We don't want to talk about that, but we are using a fake certificate for testing. That's why Firefox is complaining. Okay, and it has this big. So if you are browsing on the internet and you saw this, just go right away, like close your Firefox. Okay, don't go to this website because this website is telling you that I'm secure. Like let's make a payment, okay, and no one will see your information or something. But it will be a lie because their certificate is not valid. Okay, so whenever you see this warning in Chrome or Firefox, don't go further. Now we need to go further because this is the only way, and we trust our code, so that's fine. So click on advanced if you are using Firefox. If you are using Chrome, there is a button for advanced. And search for something like accept the risk and continue. So it's strongly recommending that don't continue. Okay. But it's just a code that we just wrote, so that's fine. Okay. So that's the shape of the default ASP MVC website. And what's happening here is our website is hosted locally in IIS Express, and IIS Express is ready to take our request. So our request, the contact page. So see the contact page. When you click on this one, you are actually requesting a page. So what happens is the request will go to IIS Express. IIS Express will serve you, okay? That's why it's called a server, okay? It will reply with a response, okay, containing the HTML of this page. And your browser, Firefox, will take this HTML and show it to you. Okay, so again, let's say that I want the about page. So all what I have to do is to click on it. So by clicking, I'm sending a request. Okay, a request to the IIS server. Okay, now IIS server, the Express version, okay, the small version in my machine, will take this request. Okay, we'll see, like, we'll go through the code and see if there are, like, if I'm allowed to access this page, if there's any calculations, any functions to, okay, all this will happen inside the code that is hosted. Okay, and eventually it will serve you with the response, okay, which is actually an HTML code that your browser can understand. Okay, and that's it. Of course, I'm pretty sure you already know about inspect elements, okay, or view the source page. So see from here to the end, that was the reply from your server. Okay, so this is the page source, I guess. Okay, this one. Okay, so that was when you asked for the about page, your server replied with this HTML stuff. So the whole what we say architecture of websites, okay, depends on request and response, request and response. Okay, so you send a request, you receive a response. Okay, and we need the server. So the server is the, let's say, the machine or the base where our website lives. Okay, and IIS is responsible for managing lots of stuff. It's responsible of serving many people in the same time. It's responsible for replying to all those people. Okay, so in web, you need an address for your website, you need a server for your website, you need to send requests, you need to receive responses. So it's way more complicated than just a console application and an exe file. Okay, so all of those are not really like part of programming, but you really need to know what's going on. Okay, so all what you need to know that, okay, we write the code and we host it on a server. Now, this server could be online, paid or free, or could be local, okay, hosted locally in our machine. Okay, that's the first thing. The next thing is whenever I want a page, okay, I will request this page and the server will reply to me according to my code, of course. So the server will use my code and it will reply with the HTML. So it won't reply with C# stuff, for example, because Firefox doesn't understand C#. Okay, Chrome, uh, Internet Explorer, they won't understand C#. They understand JavaScript and HTML and CSS. Okay, and that's the stuff your server will reply with. Okay, so any question so far?
So, if I wanted to understand more about how the structure is working, like between website, the server, and the my
Yeah.
host page and stuff, what kind of keyword should I type in on Google or on?
Well, the thing is, there are many things that are involved here, but you can search about website lifecycle
Website
or
lifecycle?
yeah, or life cycle of a web request. So
Okay,
it will
thank
tell
you.
you that you will call you will call the main address. It will be translated to the IP. It will be sent to the server. Then the server will make you request. It will respond back, and then you
Mm-hmm.
have your session. So it's a bit of an interesting story, but search of life cycle of requests or how websites work. Okay, you will eventually find something like similar to this. But we need to talk about what's at least what's we will be doing. Okay, so for now, like almost to the end of our program, we will always be hosting locally. Okay, so we will always use IIS Express. Okay, now if you are done, you can even publish it from here. So if you right click on your website, there's a button called publish, and publish will go to you like, okay, do you want to publish on Azure? So Microsoft, okay, see this company. Okay, this is a company, they have servers. Okay, Microsoft, they said, okay, why don't we host ourselves? Okay, so Microsoft, they have a hosting service as well. Okay, but it's much more complicated than just a hosting server. It's called a cloud service. Okay, so it contains lots of programming architecture, and it's more complicated than just hosting, but it has hosting. Okay, so you can host your program with Microsoft Azure, and I think you can start for free. Okay, so Microsoft Azure is a service where you can host your programs, and the nice thing about Azure is that if you are having lots of users, you can just increase the memory. Okay, or for example, if you don't want to pay a lot now and you are not having a lot of users, you can decrease the resources that you are using, like memory, computing power, all those things. So you won't pay a lot for them. Or you can pay by user, which is like maybe the best scenario for many people. Like every time I get a user, I pay just for this guy. So if I'm not getting a lot of visitors, I won't be paying anything. Okay, so you can publish it here. Okay, but that's not something that we will do. Maybe we'll do it at a very later point. Okay, for now, all what we need to do is to hit the start button. It will be hosted locally on a local server that we don't see and we don't really care about very much in the purpose of our program. And we will be just writing code. Okay, we don't care about hosting and configuring the server. this is most of the time the work of not a programmer. This is the work of the system administrator inside the company, for example. Okay, so inside any company, most of the big ones or even the middle ones, you have a person who is responsible for fixing the network issue, fixing the servers issue, hosting stuff. Okay, so this person called the system administrator, and their work is mainly those things. Okay, servers, configuring stuff. Okay, Ryan, you want to say something?
Yeah, Mohammed. I got a question. So, just like the host you showed us, like the can you show me that again? The host.
Um, like this one?
Yeah, like this one is a like third party, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not. So as you said, we can also use the one from Microsoft.
Yes.
So uh uh if you are using both of them, like no, like one of them, and
Yeah.
you are using the free one, and you also need a name for your URL, right?
Yeah.
So the name would be like the URL would be like something including the
The-
host name and also then your name, right?
yeah. If it's free, usually it will be including the name. So it will be like something like roy.hostgator.com. So that's when you just want the free one. So most of the free hosting, they will put their name in the middle of your website name.
Okay,
You can
so if you buy something from the name, like the name website, so
Yeah,
you
they won't
you
let you use it most of the time. If it's free, if you are hosting
oh
for free with those guys, they won't let you use your name that you bought.
oh okay,
Yeah,
unless you pay for
unless
your
you pay
host.
those guys. Well, they tell you it's 2.75, but this is won't be enough. They will take eventually more. Okay.
Okay.
So
but in this
yeah.
New Zealand offer you a free domain if you want.
Who?
.dk New
Oh
Zealand.
yeah, if you want DK or those like dots something, not .com or .org.
Not
They,
.com because
yeah,
.com you need to pay, but you can find a cheaper one. One
yeah.
.com cheaper
Well, it's $10 for the name for a year, so
for a
it's
year.
not. Yeah, it's not really a big deal. Of course, if you don't want to pay anything, that's fine. You can use those TK and those uh, like strange domain names, but and they will give it for you for free because it's not very requested by people. But the main thing will be the cost of hosting. Okay, so even for a simple website, it will be more than $100. If like this is a very good company. Now you will find a lot of hosting companies for much cheaper, but sometimes you open your website and it's not working, or it's very slow to open. Okay, so the hosting company, it has a lot of to do if your website is very fast or your website is very slow. Okay, so you really need a good hosting company.
Yeah, I prefer GoDaddy.
Thank you.
GoDaddy.
Yeah,
Yeah, GoDaddy is like GoDaddy and HostGator are like like Microsoft and Apple. They I think they are extremely famous, both of them. I'm not sure if they related to each other, but GoDaddy I guess is bigger. It's a US company, and it's pretty.
yeah, GoDaddy is a bigger one,
Yeah,
but this
GoDaddy.
one is good.
Yeah, I tried it before because they kept showing me the ads, and I really wanted a cheaper one, and I I didn't want to go with GoDaddy, but it's working well. Okay, but for now, like as programmers, maybe we it's better if if we thought about hosting our applications on Azure or on Amazon, on AWS. So those are clouding services. They are a big story, more than just hosting. But it's very good if you really want to just start and you want to see how it's going. But the thing is, if you have many users, okay, companies like this or GoDaddy will be much cheaper than using cloud services like AWS or Azure. Okay, so when you have lots of users, those companies will be actually cheaper eventually, more than Microsoft and Amazon.
The issues is depend. Example, if you allow your code, your program in Microsoft, for example, if you don't have a lot of visitor of your web uh, page, maybe in the future you can upgrade it
Yeah,
easily. You
yeah.
can
Well,
upgrade it easily
yeah, you
because
can upgrade it, but when you have so many users, it's cheaper to take one of those, better rather than Azure or AWS. If
yeah,
you
but
have a lot.
they have a free
Oh yeah,
space there, so
yeah,
you
they
can
have
use the
free,
free
but if
one.
you have like only 100 users as like a
Yeah,
month or 200, I don't know, there's a number. But I'm saying if your website is very famous, hosting it on Microsoft and Amazon will cost so much.
yeah, that's fine.
If your website is really famous.
So for our course, we are going to use a free one, or
Well, we may use Azure at the end, but like hosting is not a big concern for us. Like hosting
okay,
visually is few clicks, like it's few clicks and it will be online. So it's not really a big thing that we need to learn. It's not very important.
okay,
As a programmer, tomorrow when you go to a company, your main job will be writing the code, writing the website. Okay. Now, when it's time to publishing, like it's 99%, it won't be your job. It will be the job of the system administrator who knows everything, who knows the companies, who like you know the configuration. So most of the time, it won't be even your job. But we may take a look. I don't know. Okay, so that was just a simple introduction to how website works, how a website is hosted, okay, and what do we have locally. Okay, of course, it's really a big, interesting, more interesting story. So if you want to learn more, Google is your friend. Okay, so let's take a quick look before we go to a break. Let's take a quick look at the structure of the code of our website. Okay, so we want to talk about all the folders for now. For example, app data, app start, like we will leave them to a later class. We have a folder called content. This is where you usually put your CSS files. Okay, so you remember you made lots of projects in front end. Okay, you had CSS, you had JavaScript files, you have HTML files. Okay, so in MVC everything is organized, so you can't just throw stuff here and there. Okay, um, they may work, but it's against the whole purpose of why we are organizing and why we are using MVC. So if you have CSS, you will usually see them in the content side. If you have JavaScript files, you will usually see them in the scripts folder. Okay, now just to create our initial template, okay, the creators of ASP.NET MVC, they had to write all of those. So Bootstrap, I'm not sure if you use Bootstrap in front end, but we won't be actually learning those things. We don't care how the website looks or appears. That was the front end part. We care mostly about the code beneath the front end in our course now. Okay. So here, if you wrote any JavaScript files, did you use jQuery? Yeah. Okay. So jQuery is a very famous JavaScript library that will like make those fancy, nice stuff for you. Bootstrap is the same. Modernizer is also a JavaScript library that will make some modern stuff for you. But eventually, at the maybe the last two courses, when we care about the appearance of your website, okay, that's where you will put JavaScript and CSS code in here. Okay, fonts is just if you have any special fonts for your website. Okay, so what we care about is our MVC folders. So M for models, V for views, C for controllers. Okay, so MVC stands for model, view, controller, and those are the three folders that we will be working with the whole time. Okay, so just a very quick introduction to each one of them, but we will study like in a lot of detail each folder and each content of the folder in like the upcoming classes. So a model is where we put our, most of the time where we put our classes. Okay, our models. Like, do you remember when we said create class course, create class student? Okay, and you know, in the student you have the name, the birth date. Okay, the classes. That this is where we usually put our classes, our model. Okay, view is where you put your views. Okay, so view is mostly where you put your presentation. Okay, so it's mostly like where we are supposed to put HTML, but here we use something called CSHTML, which is like, think about it for now. Okay, we won't talk about views today, but think about it as an enhanced version of HTML. Okay, it's another language, okay, that used to create presentations. It looks like HTML but more powerful. Okay, we will talk about Razor pages in much more detail. We will talk about them, but think about it is where I write the presentation code for now. Okay, so this is where I write my classes. This is where I write my presentation code. Okay, and in the controllers are in the middle between views and models. So controllers are, think about them as the glue between your presentation and your models. Okay, controllers will accept the request from the user and they will go to the models. Okay, can you please give us this page? And they will return the view, the presentation to the user. Okay, so they control the flow. Let's say, maybe I'm not sure if this is very accurate to say, but they control the flow of the request and response, and they connect the model and views together. Okay, so they are somehow the router between the models and the views. Okay, they take the request from the user. They see, okay, what should we do here? We should call this function. Okay, so they will call the function, for example, to calculate the salary. Okay, then when they have the result, the salary, they will call the presentation. Okay, yeah, show the salary to this guy. So think about them as somehow the brain that connects the presentation with your very far back end model and code. Okay, now the more we go into the program, okay, the more we learn how to organize our code better. So in the beginning, we want to write like the very best layered application with all the correct like layers and business layers and repositories and those. Okay, we will just write code. The more we advance in the program, the better we will make it look like. Okay, so in case you went online and you searched for open source ASP applications and you saw a different look, okay, that's because those guys are like professionals. They are writing stuff for years, so that's why the code will look like more professional stuff. Okay, but for us, just as we started with our console applications, we will do a simple start here. So just in case you saw someone else's application and you thought, oh, it's very different, or are we learning the wrong thing here or anything? Okay, so let's take a look at controllers. Okay, so we usually start with controllers because they are the easiest to understand. Okay, so we have the home controller, okay, which what we have when we started our program. So when we started our program, if you remember, we had the about page and we had the contact page. Okay, and we have the index. So index is usually the home page. That's what most programming language they call it. So the index page is the home page. Okay, it's the page that shows up if you didn't ask for anything. So when you write the name of the website, okay, you didn't ask for any specific page yet, right? You asked for the whole website. So you will usually see the index page. Okay, so that's like the main one. Now, if you want the about page, that's when you click the about button in the view. So then you will run the code that's in the about controller, and the about controller will do any required stuff, and eventually it will return the view of about to you. Okay, so let's take a look at what we have already before we write anything extra. Okay, let's put a breakpoint here. Don't want this one. Okay. So what is the name of this page that showed up in the beginning? Okay, without me requesting any page.
Index.
Yeah, so this is the home page or the index page. Okay, so for this one, the code here was executed, which like I don't have anything but, okay, return the index page for this guy. Okay, so what about the about one? So when I click about, that means I'm requesting the about page. So when you click on something, okay, it will, your code will try to find the correct controller and then the correct action result for what you've requested. So here, like a controller is a set of action results. For now, think about action result as a page. So each action result is a page. So I have an action result called about. That means I have a page called about. Okay. I have an action result called contact. That means I have a page called contact. It's more complicated than that, but for now, this is enough. Okay. So when I clicked on about in the view, okay, I sent a request to the server. So the server knew that, oh, this guy is clicking on about, so let's go to the controller that has the about page. The controller that has the about page is the home controller. Okay, now you can create other types of controllers, and that's when like your code will go to the other controller to request the thing you are trying to see or invoke. Okay, so here you will, since you clicked on about, you will be executing the code of the about page, the about action result, and it will go inside this function and do what you have line by line. Okay, and eventually it will return the page of the about for you. So this is part of our view classes. Okay, so let's ignore it for now. But return view, do you remember when we said the controller takes your request, it will do all the coding stuff, okay, like calling the functions somewhere, and eventually it will return the view that you will see. Okay, so it will return the view that's called about, and that's what you are going to see. Okay, now you will ask me, okay, where's this code? Okay, this code is actually a presentation code, right? So it will be inside the views. So inside the view, inside home, you have a page for about. It's not HTML, it's CSHTML. Okay, and it looks like this. Of course, we will have so many classes just for the views. But this is the view Okay, this is the HTML that your controller decided to return. Why? Because you asked for the about controller, or the about page, sorry, and that's why your controller decided, oh, let's return the about page for this guy. Okay, now let's try to create like a page that returns just a text. It won't return a full page. Okay, it won't return HTML and CSS HTML. Okay, so let's write another page. So I have inside my home controller, okay, I have the home page, the about page, and the contact. Okay, so now I want to write another page. Okay, but I don't want to return a full view. I don't want to return a view in here. I want just to return a string. So you can say that, okay, I have a page that will just return a string. Okay, and this one called hello MVC. Okay, so you can have string s equals hello from my first MVC application. Okay, just something to return. Okay, so here, what are you returning here? You are returning a full view. Full view means JavaScript stuff, HTML stuff, CSS stuff. But now, because I don't know view yet, I want to return just a string. So if anyone requested this page, I will return this string for him or her. Okay, so where is this page? It's inside the home controller. So to access this page, and obviously you need to be inside the home controller to be able to access this page. Okay, let's try to access this page. Okay, so before we access this page, let's take a look at the contact or the about. So see the address that is written here. So it said when you clicked contact, you went to home. Where did the word home came from? So actually it's the name of the controller without the word controller. So home, okay, will be used without the word controller because this is how ASP MVC works. It will ignore the word controller. That's why, okay, to make your life easier, each controller you create, just call it student controller, admin controller, okay, library controller. Okay, and when you want to access it, you don't need to write the word controller. So what am I saying here? Like, what is the meaning of my full address? So the meaning of my full address is, okay, localhost something. This is the name, the address of my whole website. Okay, then home means go to home controller, like go to this class. Okay, of course this class has so many pages in it, right? So what page you want? I said, okay, I want the contact, and that's when you write contact. Okay, so what if you want another thing from the home? So you said, okay, instead of contact, I want about. So I want my website, home, about. Okay, and that's when you go to the about page. Okay, what about the page that we created? So the page that we created will just return a string. Okay. Okay. So what we want to know now is how did we came up with this address? So the address is first the name of the controller. Okay, the name of the controller without the word controller. And then the name of the function, okay, which represents a page inside your controller. Okay, so here, this is the name of my page. This is the name of my page, which is inside home controller. Okay, and that's how I access it. I write the name of the controller, then the name of the page, and it will be requested. And I will get the return, which could be a full page or just a string or just an integer. Okay, now we need to try it. Okay, so please, everyone, make sure you are trying and make sure that it worked.
Yeah, Mohammed, this application is very heavy. My system takes too long to run.
Yeah, it takes long to run. Yeah, it depends on the speed of your PC, but the first time it runs, it takes lots of time. Then it will be a little bit faster.
Yeah, I ran it at the same time like you. You explained everything. Mine is still running.
Yeah, well, you need a better PC then. That's like the only, like, you can't really do anything about it. Like we don't have any code. It's like very simple code. So it's definitely not the code problem. Or like if you are running lots of stuff in your laptop now, you need to close everything.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. I had terrible laptop the last year, and it really takes a lot of time.
Hey, Mohammed.
Yeah.
It's not case sensitive, is it?
Sorry?
Is it case sensitive? Like if I make...
No, the URL here, no.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
But of course, inside your code, when you are using or calling this function somewhere, it's case sensitive because C# is case sensitive.
Yeah, but once it goes to the browser, it doesn't matter. It
No.
doesn't.
No.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Mohammed,
Yep.
I just have a really weird question. So, what if you have a page called controller? Will it avoid that page?
Well, if you have a page here called controller,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, okay, it's a page. Okay, let's. So it will be home/controller.
Yeah.
But why would you choose this name?
Like
it's a terrible name. So let's go to home. This is my controller name. Then your page is called controller.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, but it's a terrible name.
Yeah, I know. Like I'm just saying, like
yeah.
that could be.
No,
that could
the name
happen
of your page, the name of your page virtually can be anything, but you can't call it like class or any reserved name or.
Okay.
Okay, just don't. Yeah, don't use any like special name. Okay.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Stay away from those, and it should be fine.
And Mohammed, I just got one question. In that home page, as we click home or about, and the page refreshes as well. Like in the front end, in the router, we learned about router, which prevents it to refresh the page. Do we have something like that here as well?
You mean to access or to have new contents, a new page without refreshing?
Yeah, like in that home page, we have home about, but when we click about, the page refreshes. If we click home, then it refreshes again as well.
Yeah, because it's making a new request. Now, if you want to make it without refreshing, that's when you need to use something like Ajax, for asynchronous handling. And it can be done here too. Like, of course, it can be done, but it's mostly a thing that we don't really care about now. Like we care about if the code is working. Now, is it refreshing? Is it not refreshing? Okay, it's not a big deal for us. But if you want to learn more, just search Ajax. Okay, Ajax in ASP, and you will see like all the ways how to request without refreshing the whole page, or just by refreshing a part of the page.
Okay.
So for example, now when you click like on Facebook, you don't refresh the page, right? Because this is an asynchronous call.
So I only have the VB, not home controllers C sharp inside the controller folder. Did I not download something or?
Well, are you still using Mac?
No,
But what are you using?
Windows using Bootcamp.
Yeah, so when you created your website, you chose MVC, just the way
Yeah.
I chose. Okay, so
Yes.
inside the folder controller, what do you have? You are muted. You muted yourself. I can't hear you.
Inside the home controller,
Yeah.
it has VB, home controller.vb, and nothing else. It doesn't have C sharp.
Yeah.
Well, because you chose VB when you created your website.
Really?
Yeah. So when you
Okay, I'll do it
when
again.
you create your website, yeah, try to create another one.
Okay.
Yeah, VP is Visual Basic,
Right.
which is something like C sharp, but it's not C sharp.
But the file exe, not exe, extension is SLN, so I thought it was.
SLN is the solution, but the code
it doesn't
the
mean
code
C
the
sharp.
code file is homecontroller.vp.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
So
Visual Basic for sure. So when you create
I
your
look for.
when you create new project, okay, so website, make sure you are using C sharp here, not VB.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. Yeah,
Okay. There you go.
happens. Okay, so I'm really trying very hard to make things simple here, because there are really so many stuff that going on. Like you will be asking yourself, okay, what is return view? Where is the name of the view? Why I'm not saying, like, I have so many views here, so how does it know which one? Okay, so many things are to be answered, but hopefully slowly we'll be there. Like we'll be to a point where we understand everything. So I really hope that I'm not making it over complicated or like missing stuff. Okay. Okay. So please make sure that this Hello MVC is working. If it's working, then that's extremely well. Now we are at the point where we can continue with each other. Now, if it's not working, that's when you can't do anything and you will be stuck. Okay, so what about we create another controller? Okay, let's say about this one, add. Okay, so right click on the control. Of course, a controller should be in this folder. You can't create a controller in another folder. Okay, unless you really know what you're doing and you want to change the basic behavior of ASP, always stick to the default way. Okay, in everything, not only this one. Okay, so right click on controllers, add controller. Okay, so for now, we will choose the empty. At later point, we will use this third one. But for now, just choose the empty controller. Okay, so empty controller, add. It will tell you, okay, what's the name? And notice that it wrote the word controller for you. And it's telling you, okay, just change the first part, please. Okay, so call it anything but anything controller. Okay, so don't remove the word controller, otherwise MVC ASP will be confused and you will get into trouble. So whatever you want to call it, let's call it, for example, I will be creating a calculator now, or we will be creating a calculator. So let's call it math controller. Okay, so our controller for math purposes. Okay, So, okay, math controller add.
I'm sorry, we choose the empty controller, right?
Yeah. So it takes time, especially if your laptop isn't that strong. It will do something called scaffolding and it will generate this page or this document for you. Okay. So you have now an empty controller, a new controller. We called it math controller. Okay. And it has a page, which is the index. So you will notice that it's written because, of course, you need this page. Okay. In like almost all circumstances. Okay. So inside my math controller, let's write just welcome public. So we can change this one. We can change the index, but let's keep it as is for now. So we can return a string. Says, let's call it okay. Or we don't need the word page. Actually, let's just call it welcome. Okay. And we want to return or why call it welcome? Let's call it about actually. Okay. So inside the math controller, we can have a page called about. Of course, this about is different than the previous about. This about is about this controller, the math one. The previous about was about the home controller. Okay. So you can have the same name as long as it's in different controllers. Okay, let's try to start this one. Okay, so how do I go? I don't have any links to click on here. So we will learn how to make those links, but for now, I can navigate by typing the URL, the full URL. So I want to say, okay, I want to go to the math controller. Okay, what if I want, yeah, sorry. So if you ever saw this page, that means the page you are requesting is not there. This is the error page that shows up when you're requesting the page and you like mistype the name. You are requesting a page that was deleted. Okay. So if I want to go to math, I can say I want to go to math about. So I want to go to the controller that's called math. And then I want to go to the about page. Let's try to go to the index page. What was this? I just forgot about it. Okay, do we have anything here? Oh, we don't have the math page. Oh, okay. Yeah, anyway, forget about the index. It needs a view and we don't have a view yet. Okay. Math about. Okay.
And this
Okay.
math controller inherits from home controller by default.
No, not from home controller. It inherits from a class called controller.
Okay.
Yeah, controller is the parent of all controllers.
Oh, I see.
Okay, home controller is just a single controller. Okay, like everyone else.
I see. Thank you.
Okay. So what we did here, we created another controller. It's like another section in our website. Okay, so each controller is a section in your website. You have the home section. Okay, now imagine your website can do lots of stuff. Do you remember the portal my.mitt.ca? So for example, okay, my.mitt.ca. That's the website. Okay. Now there is a controller or a section called faculty. Okay, that's when you access if you are a teacher. There is a section called students or student. Okay, so those are different controllers. So each controller is a section. Of course, the functions that are in the teacher controller are different from the functions in the student controller. So the student controller has functions like show me the grades, show me the transcript, while the teacher has stuff like enter the grades, enter the courses. Okay, so each section or each part of your program or your website should be a controller by itself. Okay, so you need to logically distribute them in a logical way and like put all the functions that matter something in a controller. So all the functions that matter teachers are in the faculty controller. All the functions that matter students are in the students controller. Okay, and that's how it's organized. Of course, okay, like don't put everything in the same place. Okay, and now for example, if you want the student part, okay, just my.mitt.ca/students. Okay, now you are in the students controller, and now you can say /students/my grades. So my grades will be a function here, like this one, which will show up the grades for you. Okay. So is it clear what is a controller? Okay. It's a section in your website that has so many pages that are connected to each other, pages that are important for this section. Is it clear? Okay. So of course, virtually you can put everything in the same controller, but it won't look nice or logical, or it will be hard to maintain, hard to fix, hard to test. Okay. So each section should be like maybe in our website at MITT, maybe there's something like my.mitt.ca/administrators. I really don't know, but maybe they have something for the higher administration where they made a controller just for them because like they have so many functions related to them, for example. Okay. Okay. So let's take a 15 minutes break. After that, we'll come back and we will write the functions in our math controller. So we will write functions that will do math operations and we will pass arguments to those functions. Okay? Okay, yeah, see you very soon. Okay, so let's continue here. So the last thing we were talking about is the view, sorry, the controller. Actually, we are not talking about views yet. Okay, so what we want to do now is to continue writing our math controller. Okay, so what we want to do is, for example, we want a function, okay, that returns an integer, sorry, an integer which is the sum of two integers. So we need to pass two integers and get the sum, okay, int x, int y, and we want to return x plus y. Okay, so this is our sum function, okay, which will be a page. This page, okay, it takes two numbers and returns the sum of those two numbers. Okay. Okay, so for this one, let's make a one that takes only one number. So double, let's call it sqrt. So it takes a number, integer, and returns math dot. Do you remember the library that's called math? It has so many math functions in it. Okay, so we can call that library math.sqrt of x. So this function only takes one number. Okay, then we will do this one that takes two. Okay, so what is the return of sqrt function? Double. That's why the page should return a double. Of course, you can put it in a string, and in a real life example, in a real website, it should return a view. Okay, but for today, we are just dealing with controllers without views. So we won't return a view. We will just return the double or the string result. Okay, so let's start our website and let's go to the sqrt page, the square root. Okay. So the sqrt is in math controller. So I need to go to math. Then I need the sqrt. Okay, what if I call this page right away? So you will notice that you will have an exception. Okay, this hideous look, okay, where you have this red line in the beginning and then lots of talk, that's usually an exception that happened in your code. So here it's complaining that, oh, you are saying there's a parameter called x that I'm supposed to get to calculate the sqrt for you, but you didn't give me any x. That's why I'm complaining, and it will tell you all the stack trace, everything happened, okay, until it reached the point, okay. So of course, at a later point, we will see how to hide those information. Like you don't want to show those things to the user. The user just needs to know that there's a problem happen. Those information are for programmers. Okay, you don't want to let anyone see all those details about your program. Okay, but for now we need to see them, so we can know what is the problem. Now the problem is very obvious. It's like talking about parameters, no parameter, null. Okay, so you know that there's a parameter missing. Okay, so it needs a parameter. So to pass the parameters, you can use the question mark. Okay, and then give a value x equals like 9. So that's how we give parameters. This is one way, okay, to give parameters. In MVC, there's another way to give it, okay? But this is more of the standard way in web. So in most web applications, in most websites, when you are giving parameters, you will see, okay, question marks, then something equals, and something equals, and something equals. Okay. Okay, so for SQRT, if you want to pass X, then question mark X equals and give it a value. And this X will come to the code as this one. Of course, it needs to be the same name. So X here, X there. Okay, so please make sure it's working with you. Okay, so that's what we call the query string. Okay, so the query string is part of the URL that assigns values to the specified parameters. Okay, so this is passing values using query string. Okay,
What's
so
the highlighted part in the URL after square root?
X, sorry, SQRT question mark X equals 9. Okay, so question mark is where you start providing your parameters, and then each one, okay, x equals something and y equals something. Okay, so here, let's say that it will look like this. Okay. So this is just so you know, okay, that eventually to call this one, you need to call math, SQRT, question mark, then x equals, and give it a value. Okay, so this one called query string. Okay, it's a part of the URL where you provide the values of the parameters. Okay, what about the sum? So the sum takes 2 actually, and it returns the sum of them. Okay, so let's try to call sum. Again, sum is in which controller? It's in math controller. So to access it, you need to go to math. Okay, so you need to say, okay, if you said home and sum, you want, like it will tell you, I don't have any sum in my home controller because it is in where? It's in math controller. Okay, so in math, I have a function called sum. Okay, is that enough? Nope. It's complaining about parameters again. That means sum needs parameters. So x equals like 10 and, okay, that's how you provide the other one, and y equals 3. And the result is 13. So let me write it here for you. So for this one, it will look like this. Also a query string. So x equals something and y equals something else. And now you provided both x and y, they will be replaced by those parameters and you will get the result. Yeah, just a second, please. Okay, any question about those? What about the divide function? So please write the divide function for me. And try to handle the division by zero exception.
I have a question. So I need to run each time that I modify my code. I need to run the server again.
Yeah, if you are modifying the code here in the C#, yes, you do. I guess if you are changing something in the view, then you don't. It can just refresh.
Okay.
But if it's a C# code, I think it needs you to restart. Because it will be compiled and it needs to be recompiled again. Okay, once anyone is done, please let us know. Of course, remember that you can divide by zero. And we need to handle the exception with try and catch. Okay, anyone is done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay,
Think
so
I'm
let's
done.
okay, so let's see Willie's code since the first to finish. Okay, you can share. Willie, can you share? Oh, you have two machines. Okay. Okay.
So the code is not very elegant because I use the try and catch for manage handle the flow of the program.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But
So
it's a quick solution.
yeah. Okay. So using try catch is definitely a good thing. Like it really depends. Like, do you want to return a zero or do you want to tell the the user, for example, that oh you entered a zero, so it's not allowed. Just because sometimes the result is zero, so you don't really want to the user to think that the real result is zero.
Yeah, maybe I can return a
Yeah,
string.
exactly.
Or
So returning a string or double doesn't matter for the user, right? The user eventually will see the result. So if you returned x divided by y, the two string, and then here you can return something like, sorry, you can't divide by zero or whatever. Okay, like invalid operation. Okay, anything you want, just to make sure the user notices or knows that the real result is not zero. Otherwise, you will be like misleading the user.
yeah, that's right.
Okay. And the catch here, like this catch, like what exception exactly this catch will catch?
Well, this is divided by zero.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, what if some other type of exception happen?
Well, in this case, I put this general only.
Yeah.
But you
So
can be more specific.
yeah. So here, if you didn't say what type of exceptions, I'm not sure if you remember. As we said, it will catch everything. Okay, so this catch will catch any kind of exceptions. Okay, so you need to be careful because maybe there is another one, another type of exception that will be caught, probably, but the user will still see, sorry, you can't divide by zero. So maybe it's not divide by zero issue, it's another
Yeah,
issue.
that's right.
So a better or an enhancement could be like, okay, let's catch the divide by zero and show this message. Then another catch, okay, that will show the user, okay, an errors or some error happened. We don't know, okay. If it's divide by zero, we'll show you this message. Otherwise, we'll show you like some general message.
Yeah, that's
Okay?
right.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you very much, Willie. Okay, so let's write it together before the end of the first part of our class today. Okay, so we can return, let's return a string now. So in case it's a number, okay, that's fine. If it's not a number, we can show a message to the user, like telling the user that there is a problem with your input. So we can int x and int y. So we can try, okay, we can return x divided by y. Of course, this one, like, it's expecting a string from you, so you can convert the result to string. Okay. And here you can catch, okay, if I code divide by 0 exception, okay, let's call it E, then I will return something like invalid operation can't divide by 0. Okay. Now, if I code something else like any other exception, okay, now you can return a general message. Okay, like an error has like occurred or something. Okay, like some error. I really don't know. Okay, if it's divided by 0, you will go here. Otherwise, of course, you will notice that it's telling you you can remove this one. Okay, so here like general catch. Okay, for all the generic stuff. Okay, so let's try this one. See first if it's working, then see if we can enhance it even further. Okay, so always try, like, even if it's a simple task, try to do it in like the good way that you already know. Okay, so math divide, okay, that's the name of the page or the function. And this function needs what? It needs two things. It needs x equals 10, and it needs and y equals 2. Okay, so the result is 5. Okay, what if y is 0? Okay, so here you are getting, okay, invalid operation. Now, this is a very simple thing, so I'm not really sure how to generate. I don't think we can make another exception. Now, if you didn't pass anything, you won't be able to catch the exception, because if you didn't pass anything, you won't even reach the code. Like, you won't even start if you didn't pass. Yeah, let's try to pass a connector. Yeah, that's a good point. Y equals I. Yeah, it's not, because like from here, like it's expecting integer, right? So since you didn't pass an integer, before going to the code, before starting with the code, it will throw an exception, which you are not catching right now. Okay, to catch those exception is a different story. Okay, so here we are catching the code after the successful passing of those two parameters. Now, if you are passing something else, okay, like the wrong thing, or if you are not passing at all, okay, that's when your code will blow up even before starting the try itself. Okay, now of course you can throw an exception here, right? Like, if you want to try, throw new exception. Yeah, like, of course, like, and this will just jump to this place. Okay, but this is like, of course, it's you are shooting yourself in the foot or wherever, in the head actually. Okay, so now this is a very simple code. It won't cause lots of exceptions, but suppose that you have lots of lines here, lots of calculations, reading from a database. So let's say that something wrong could happen other than divide by 0 exception. It will come to this generic catch and it will be called. And now the user won't see this huge yellow and red page of errors. The user will only see like a simple thing. Okay, just a meaningful message that, oh, something happened, sorry. just like that. Okay, so what we did is we created a new controller. In this controller, we created some simple pages. One of them is the divide one that tries to divide. If it code divide by 0, it will show this error. If it code anything else, it will show this one. Okay, so please make sure it's working with you as well. And try it now. Okay, because it's the first time, so we need to make sure everything is working for everyone.
I got a question about the exception E. E dot message is too complicated for some users to read, so we just write
Yeah.
up our own string. Okay.
Yeah, but the e dot message of this particular I think it's simple, like can't divide by 0. But lots of
Yeah.
other exceptions are harder. Okay, so maybe you need to like maybe you can show the your message for you the user, then show him the original e dot message. Sometimes you want to show both. Okay, but users, regular users that don't really care. It's e dot message is usually best for other programmers, so they can know what happened. Okay. Okay. So today we just took a very quick look at controllers. Okay. We saw how to create a new one and what's the difference between a controller and another, and they always should end with the word controller. So home controller, math controller, something controller. Okay, that's how they should be named. If you don't want to like make your own customizations and your own way, this is the way ASP MVC is expecting you to name things. If you don't want to follow it, for some things, yeah, there are workarounds, but it's just like you are overcomplicated for overcomplicating the code for no reason. Okay. And for now, we are just returning a simple string. See if we can encode this one. Of course, there are better ways to encode it. Oh, why do I have H2? Math. So you'll notice that we used, hopefully you still remember anything from the HTML. Okay, do you still remember anything? H1, H2, BR. Okay,
That's
so you
all
can send, sorry?
I said that's all I remember.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I remember too, because it's been like 10 years since I did any front end work. Okay, so of course we will see better ways to send HTML. Like this is the simple way, and actually it's not very recommended. But now we were able like to show the error in like a little bit bigger, so the user can notice that there is something wrong. Otherwise, if everything is working fine, we will just return a simple font. Okay. Okay, so after the break, we will take a bit of a harder exercise that needs you to search, needs you to do whatever it takes to finish. Okay, so it's an exercise that needs some work.